Alrighty, welcome back. We are on episode number 139. We have completed the game, and I've pulled up the last bits that they give you after you actually exit the combat. These are the consequences of all your decisions that you made. So, this was the first part that I felt was prominent. So, we gave the Patriarch a trial. These people are the jury from the population, and we preside over this. We've selected one of our guys to be the supervising judge. At the end of this, the people determined he was guilty, but they didn't determine he deserved death. So they sentenced him to prison, which he ended up serving at Peterson Air Force Base, presumably under Angela Death's supervision. And I felt this was kind of bizarre because Colorado's punishment for crimes was the pillories. I mean, they made a big deal about this throughout most of the game, you know? Or at least most of the beginning of the game. Like, you definitely felt like if something went wrong, you know, you got the pillories. So, he was spared the pillories. For whatever reason, I don't know. And served his term out in Peterson Air Force Base. However, this one here, he wouldn't stay there for long. So, it doesn't go on to say what happens to him, obviously. It just says he wouldn't stay there for long. Whether or not he was broken out by sympathizers, whether or not, you know, the infighting that comes later causes him to have a way of escaping himself. It doesn't even, it could be that even, you know, Angela or whoever is in charge of supervising actually just lets him go. There's no way to knowing. But I guess this is the way to open up for Wasteland 4, a return of the Patriarch as a, you know, likely not a primary character, because it seems like they go from game to game to bringing back their primary characters into lesser roles. So I would expect something to go on later where he comes up as a secondary role. Either I don't know what, you know, canon would be considered by the teams that develop Wasteland 4, assuming they ever develop Wasteland 4. They could return to Arizona and follow that route, which doesn't seem to me the way to go. I would rather them keep going east. You know, even to the point where, you know, they go east to more like Ohio. You know, deal with the Buckeye Republic, the Detroit Motor City Combine, and then, you know, if they ever go Wasteland 5, you know, you go further east to the East Coast, and Wasteland 6, they can even go to Europe, you know, and start going into Russia, and, you know, they got all kinds of things they could do with it, but I think going east would be the most sensible thing, because, yeah, later on we'll see about Ironclad, but I think that would be the way to go. So, you know, it leaves it open-ended for what's going to happen with the Patriarch. You know, what's going on. You know, what happened, because he didn't die. But remember, he had the illness, which isn't mentioned. You know, aside from the very beginning of the game, there really wasn't a whole lot about it. So, I mean, he could just die of natural causes in the snow. Who knows? Alright, so let's see. The chaos. Alright, yeah, so we decided to pillage. I guess pillage is the correct word, but, you know, we decided instead of staying in Colorado, we're going to go back and take the aid that we came to Colorado for back to Colorado Springs, back to Arizona. The initial thing was, hey, strike a deal with the Patriarch to get the aid, and presumably that meant aid would continue coming at, you know, regular intervals, whereas we're taking the aid that we have, that we were able to plunder, but it's not going to be at regular intervals. So this is like a one-time thing. So, you know, this is what this line's about. It's like, okay, we're you know, we got the aid to get us through this whatever period of time we got through, but that wasn't the plan. Now we need another plan. You know, our plan was a deal with the Patriarch that would give us aid for who knows how long, you know, as long as we provided security for him until he died, I guess. Okay, so this is obvious, you know, the people that were oppressed are going to want to rise up and take down the people that were oppressing them. I mean, that's just going to happen. It's common sense. Yeah, there's just outnumbered at this point. There's no way you can deal with the numbers when the people are that angry at what happened to them during this, I guess, reign in time. Especially with the change in leadership, and who knows what's going on with these people that are now, you know, involved in our nation. And this is why from jump, I did not want to go against the patriarch, and I wasn't intending to go against the patriarch in the first playthrough, but the decisions that I made throughout the game made it natural to go that way. So that's what I chose. But in the entire game, when you're talking to the patriarch, talking to him about the reasoning he does things, you know, why did this happen? What is this? And yes, you know, some of them are fucking brutal as fuck, but in the end, it was the most secure way of holding everything together, and I couldn't fault him. I mean, at any point in time that I had any of the discussions with him, or any of the discussions with other people about him, that uh, there was a better way of doing it, and he didn't do it. You know, I felt from the very beginning that Angela Death's um, involvement in trying to take down the patriarch was something I really didn't want to be a part of, because I felt this was happening. You know, the whole nation's going to collapse into their factions. Gangs are going, you know, gangs are going to take over every little piece they can. They're going to fight each other, and you know, I feel like if the world happened to fall over dead tomorrow and the economy collapses in every single country, this kind of shit right here is going to happen. Unless you have somebody that's very strong that can centralize power, it's not ever going to be better. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, you can't have um, freedom in elections and expect peaceful transitions of power if you don't have full control of the situation to begin with. So, you know, you have to have, unfortunately, you have to have a dictatorship of some sort to consolidate power before you can give that power up in a peaceful manner. I mean, that's just how nature is. So, anyway. So obviously, Colorado's going to be torn apart. You know, it's just that's why I didn't like this decision at all. Like, just trying to throw our weight behind Angela Death and her ability to somehow miraculously keep a coalition together that she had nothing to do with creating. Now, see, this is wrong, because with the Holy Detonation, we ensured that Colorado had a power source. So I think the programmers screwed up on this. You know, I really do. Because the Holy Detonation was an even more reliable source of power than the Gippers. So whoever was doing these at the end, like, they just didn't think what happened if the player did the detonation and kept that alive but killed the Gippers. It made no sense at all, that one there, period. Of course, this one made sense. This one, you know, I was trying to do from the beginning. I told you I wanted to side with the AI at every single point that it allowed me to, and that's what I did, and that's the result of that. You know, okay. So I mean, this even, you know, if they take this as canon and push that forward, you know, they can even have it where machines and humans become like constant allies, as opposed to the origins of the AI basically destroying the entire world. And this one here, I mean, I can see it, but how can it be that he's feeling alone when he's basically, with all the other AIs? But I guess it tries to give the AI more of a human connection. Now this one here, even when I was playing in Aspen, it didn't seem like the breathers were that big of a deal at all, and certainly not that big of a deal to give an ending with. Like, I didn't get this at all. Like, maybe it's because it's just the decisions I made, but they didn't seem like a big part of the game at all. Like, and I still don't know anything about the gift. Like, what was she? I mean, maybe I was just, kind of, I don't know, ignorant on some of the history. I don't know what it was, but I didn't get this part. Like, the breathers really didn't have any impact on me at all when I was playing. It was like, okay, whatever, there was no connection, no care, and I have no idea what the gift was. I mean, I saw, in the trophy room, you know, you got that little portrait that had her and her sisters, but I still don't see what the connection was with the gift in the game, like, at all. Like, I just don't understand it. So I don't know. They give her 2 screens. Yeah, so Aspen died. And during the game, Aspen was the only one that had any kind of, building going on. And of course, she left Celine Crow there, and yeah, she didn't know anything about running the factory. Alright, so as far as Steel Town goes, I didn't like any of the choices. Like, I did not like any of the choices. I didn't like Markham. I didn't like Celine Crow, and I was okay with Blue. I mean, you know, if you were okay with the AIs, okay, Blue was alright. However, to arrest everybody in the game, you have to arrest Blue. So if you're on his side, you couldn't arrest him, and that kind of ruined what my first intention of the game was to arrest every single solitary person I could arrest. Did not happen because I was trying to support the AI, and by not supporting Blue, I fucked the AI over. So I had 2 goals in the game that I wanted to do, and they weren't compatible. So I've got the AI one out of the way. The next one now, I will be able to arrest every single person, I think. I believe I will be able to get every one of them this time. So, I mean, next time I play the playthrough. But as far as decisions, I didn't want to leave Celine Crow in charge, and I didn't want to leave Markham in charge. Like, I didn't want to leave either of them in charge. Markham was a terrible character. I had absolutely no... I hated her. I didn't want anything to do with her. I just didn't like her attitude. I didn't like her voice. I didn't like her decisions. I just didn't like anything about that character. And Celine Crow was not as bad as Markham, but she was similar to it. So it's like, whatever, you're stuck with 2 characters that you just despise. It's like, who cares? A whole DLC and you don't even care about the 2 main characters. But, they were able to keep Steel Town running, I guess, until the power went out, because, where were they getting their power from? And without the Patriarch around, I mean, I guess they were able to defend themselves from the anarchy that followed by their own machines. I mean, pretty much Steel Town would have become, assuming that they were able to have power, they would have become like the beacon, because they were the only ones that were able to manufacture their own defenses against the anarchist mob that would, basically just go out and destroy everything they could for food. As far as the decisions in the cult, it just seemed the best way to go playing the somewhat good playthrough was to unite them. So I didn't want to have a faction go one way or the other. I wanted to be right down the middle and get them together. So I think I did what I wanted in this DLC. Concerning the DLC, I would have I would play this last, like before going into the racetrack area, like before going to Yuma County. Like I would do everything up to that point, go right before Yuma, and then go and do the Holy Detonation. And that's simply because of the glowing buff that causes the characters to sound like static when you're recording video. So I mean, if it wasn't for that, I maybe I wouldn't worry about that so much. But having the stacks on there really, and even when you didn't have the stacks, the pustule that you're able to get has that effect. So you hear it throughout every single video from that point on. So it's like, anyway, I would be interested. I didn't try at all to avoid stacks, and I'm kind of wondering whether or not there's an achievement in the game for not getting a stack, if it's even possible to not get a stack. I don't know. Certainly worth trying the next time I do the game. Mm. But it providing a power source to Colorado. I mean, if you're looking at best power sources that you can get that are cleanest and efficient, nuclear power is the way to go, and this is pretty much nuclear power from what I can tell. So, you know, having the choice between the Gippers and this, if you had to choose between the two, this one was obviously the way to go as far as power goes. Yeah, it's got a cult running it, but they worship as a god. They're going to defend this thing to death. So there's no one is going to come out here and fuck with this thing for your power source. Whereas the Gippers, they can be just wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow, and they're the only ones that know it. I would rather have the people that are worshiping a fucking god, which is actually the power source, than the Gippers, because I know for a fact these guys are gonna defend this thing until the last mutant stands. Now, at the time I took on the Bazaar, I wanted to be on the Patriarch's side. So I wanted to maintain control because that's how the Patriarch had it done. And, I knew Charlie Knowles was Farron Brigo's dude. Which is kind of funny because one of the very first times I played this game and started, like, I didn't know what I was doing. Um, had no idea of the mechanics of the game. My first decisions ended up being on Farron Brigo's side, and it changes the game entirely when you do that. It's like, okay, it's just, I mean, it's really cool actually that the game is so different when you make certain decisions in it. So the next one I'm playing through, it's going to be a quote unquote evil type of playthrough where I'm just not going to take shit from people, and I'm going to be on the team that is going to be on Farron Brigo's side this time. I'm going to be on Charlie Knowles' time. There's things that I have planned to do for the next playthrough that. Now, whether or not that leads me to protecting the Patriarch this time around, I don't know how that's going to work out. But Flab won't be there. This one here, this decision made no sense to me at all. I even mentioned it right when it happened. I'm like, this is bad. This makes no sense. I don't see how in the world she like what happened that made this sensible in the minds of the people that programmed the game. I just don't. So she left because she couldn't, we weren't going to be able to reliably get the supplies there, and yet we were able to reliably get the supplies there following what if she just would have followed me, she would have had supplies and there wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, Giuseppe's reasoning and her reasoning at the very end should have been the exact same reasoning if they, because that's just how it made sense. So it's just Giuseppe was that much more intelligent than Jody, and Jody was a dumb hick. I mean, that's pretty much how that worked out. This one doesn't really make sense to me either, because Vaughn comes off as a pragmatist from the beginning. Like, I'm going to be following the people in power. Like, if the Patriarch's not in power, I'm following Daisy. If Daisy, then okay. Well, Daisy's not there. Okay, the Patriarch's not. Well, Daisy actually is there, but she's not in power. Which is kind of weird, because when we were going through, we did a kiss ass check that said, hey, the Rangers are going to work with the Marshals. So in reality, the Quan should have went back to Sheriff Daisy. That should have been what happened, because she is still in charge. So this makes absolutely no sense at all, like at all. From the way he spoke in the very first parts of the game, I don't understand this decision of leaving because the Rangers killed the Patriarch. I really don't. It doesn't. It's out of character for this man's pragmatism. It really is. His overriding goal is to survive and be on top of be with the team that's in control. It makes no sense for him to leave. It doesn't. Makes no sense for him to not want anything to do with the Rangers, since the Rangers are now the power. In Colorado, at least for this period of time, because he knew for a fact that the Patriarch was sick. He knew things were coming. He tells you that right off the bat. So this is just incongruent with his behavior, his attitudes. It just is. It's terrible. And this makes sense, if she would have been with me, she would have fought against me. She would have said, no, I'm on the Patriarch side. And she definitely would be on the Hundred family side. Even though we were opening our eyes up to the abuses that they were perpetrating on the people. And this is kind of like a whimsical decision here, letting Morningstar go. And this is pretty good. I mean, on this playthrough we were with the AIs, so it makes sense that the Rangers on this playthrough would say, okay, go ahead and take off. But this opens up the ability to see Morningstar later on in Wasteland 4, and I fully expect to see it, assuming they do Wasteland 4. And we probably will run into Quan again as well. The Jody I'm done with. Like, if she makes an appearance in Wasteland 4, I'm going to shoot her in the head. And this is like the no-brainer decision here. Of course he's going to take his, and go towards Kansas, because this sets up for Wasteland 4. Like, this sets up the ability to go to Kansas and follow Ironclad and his merry band of murderers to there. So this is setting up for Seppi to become leader of the Rangers, and I just don't see it. Her personality is too flippant, she's too whimsical. She's even from Wasteland 2 to Wasteland 3, it's pretty much the same type of character. I don't see her ever really. I don't see her being somebody that should ever become the leader of the Rangers, because her attitude just doesn't make sense to be a general. But it sounds like they're setting that up. This game, we didn't get to see a lot of her because we didn't use her, and we got her really late in the game. So, you know, you didn't really get a good connection with Giuseppe as you did with in Wasteland 2. And even in Wasteland 2, she came pretty late in the game. So, you know, if you do things out of order or in a really weird order and just head over to Aspen first, deal with it, then you can play with her throughout the game, and maybe you'll get a better connection. But you just didn't get the connection that you needed to see. Wasteland 2 did a better job at her character development. And Fish Lips, I mean, he wasn't really. I mean, we ended up using him at the end because we had to select somebody, but I don't know. He was just a pretty meh character all the way around, from start to finish. I mean, the way he talked, his voice, you wondered how he ever tied his shoes, let alone became a leader of anything. And then when you were talking with him with Ironclad, you saw he was basically a lackey, not a leader. So plus he was a cannibal, so whatever. He's really, I think, the most forgettable companion, and just not good at all. Anyway, Vic, yeah, I was hoping for more from Vic as far as dialogue, and I don't know. The reason I went for Vic to begin with and wanted him on the team was because I had read long ago that he had the unique dialogues, and he had things that you really wanted to hear. And yeah, he had unique dialogues, but I can't say I was too impressed with it. Not impressed enough to hold off and get him. And it kind of doesn't make sense to me. I mean, he had to know that once the Rangers took out his father, that he had no chance whatsoever of getting into power at all. Like, he had to know that. So you would have thought that he would have betrayed you at some point during the fight or before that, at least trying to take power himself. But the PSOs got to him, apparently. And this is apt right here. Scotchmo just wanders off in search of booze. Heads over to Kansas. Sets up for him being in Wasteland 4. And when he's in Wasteland 4, I'm going to pick him up again. I guarantee you. I like Scotchmo as a character from the first time I saw it in Wasteland 2. And they certainly make it sound like the pustule has more intelligence than it seemed like on when you're fighting. It's like, okay, it just seems like a brainless kind of mutant, but apparently they still have the ability to think on a higher level. And yeah. But Pustule was one of I think it is the most powerful, like, little, whatever you want to call it, not companion, not pet, I guess pet, not really a pet, but a pet, acting like a pet. It was the most powerful, man. That thing was a beast. So overall, as far as this playthrough goes, I think I left Colorado in a worse state. I don't think I improved Arizona a whole lot. And overall, I just made things worse. I mean, that's pretty much how I look at it. Everything is worse. There's nothing that's better. I mean, absolutely nothing that I did improved matters at all. Anyway, So that's the end of that. Um, those are the consequences of that playthrough. Next video, I'll be in game looking at the characters, the stats, um, and throwing together some thoughts about what worked, what didn't work, and what to select for the next playthrough as far as mistakes made on attributes, on skills, on perks, that kind of thing, quirks, you name it. I'll look at those and get my thoughts together for how am I going to proceed to the next playthrough and improve upon or change things. Um, so I'll go more in depth on that in the next episode. All right, later, guys.